If you're headed to an airport this weekend, as I am, we are going to face very long TSA lines because once again today, Republicans refuse to vote for funding the TSA. TSA agents are not getting paid now because their budget is not active. Senate Republicans have attached conditions to fully funding the TSA, which include unprecedented increases in funding for Donald Trump's domestic invasion forces of ICE and Border Patrol agents. California Senator Adam Schiff said this.
Senate Democrats have been clear, not another dime for these immigration enforcement agencies until we see real reforms, until they take off the masks and put on the body cams, until they're held to the same standard as a neighborhood cop on the beat, until their standard of no judicial warrant, no problem, is torn out of the training manual. That is not too much to ask. In the aftermath of Americans watching DHS storming city apartment buildings like they were behind enemy lines, or ICE dragging citizens from their homes, or CBP gunning down Americans in cold blood in the street, this cannot be too much to ask. We're seeing families torn apart, citizens detained without medical care, fathers and mothers, grandfathers and grandmothers, aunts and uncles, children detained because of the color of their skin or the language they speak or where they work. We see DHS spending $140 million on assault weapons, Glocks and tasers, and countless more on building massive new detention centers. And so we are insisting on reform. We reject the false choice the majority would give us that we cannot reform ICE until we agree to give ICE billions more. These cannot be the only two choices.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator Adam Schiff of California. He is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Okay, let's begin with, there's two things happening here. There's what you want to vote for, and there's what Republicans want to vote for. Democrats are out on the Senate floor saying, let's fund TSA. Let's get the TSA agents paid so we can take care of the airports, get everything straightened out at the airports, get them paid. Republicans say no.
They say no. They say until we get more money for ICE and more money for Border Patrol, we're not going to reopen TSA. We're not going to reopen FEMA. We had another motion today that Alex Padilla and I offered to reopen FEMA. Let's continue to hammer out serious reforms of ICE and Border Patrol, but let's not make the public suffer by not funding this disaster relief agency or TSA or the Coast Guard. But no, their response is, we're not going to do anything until we get more money for ICE, and we are not about to go along with the reforms that you're seeking.
So people standing in TSA lines tomorrow morning and all day should know that the reason those lines are long is that Republicans have repeatedly this week refused to vote to fund TSA. Democrats all want to vote to fund TSA, and Republicans are refusing to do it.
That's exactly right. We had that vote again today. Let's fund TSA while we work on everything else. And they said no, not without funding ICE and Border Patrol. They're not willing to fund TSA. I think it's unsustainable. They're losing this argument. They've lost the argument over ICE and over Border Patrol. People have seen the terrible damage that's been done in our streets and the mayhem, the chaos, the bloodshed. They want changes. And what we're demanding is, frankly, just the same standards we hold our local police department to. We don't want people wearing masks. We don't want people indiscriminately grabbing people off the street because of how they look or the language they speak or where they work. We want them to not use excessive force. And when there is excessive force used, we want an independent investigation. This is not too much to ask. But apparently for the Republicans it is, and they're willing to keep TSA unfunded. They're willing to make all those agents work without pay until they can get more money for those agencies.
So the Republican position is we're going to hold TSA hostage to ICE. We will not fund TSA unless you all agree to fund ICE at unprecedentedly high levels. And it's a very common legislative approach to say, OK, let's vote on the pieces we agree on. We agree, because basically the Republicans and Democrats agree on funding for TSA. If it was a standalone bill, it would go through with at least 90 votes, wouldn't it?
It absolutely would. Yeah. And you're right. And
so it's very common to do that, pass that thing with 90 votes or unanimously, and then we'll start working on the part we disagree on. You want less money for ICE than they do. They want this. That's a normal legislative process.
That is exactly right. And what's more, Republicans in that big, ugly bill gave ICE more money than the FBI gets, more money than, frankly, all the federal law enforcement agencies put together. They're already massively funded. Their budget just for guns and other lethal and non-lethal material increased by 360%. I mean, it's gone up dramatically. So they've got plenty of money, and they're plenty well armed. What they don't have is basic rules that require them to abide by the law. In this area, we've had court after court, Republican-appointed judges, Trump judges, among others, say that they have never seen such rampant violation of court orders. Well, we want that to stop, and the Republicans should want that to stop, too. But apparently, they're not willing to cross the president. And until they're willing to accede to the needs of their constituents, and until they're more afraid, frankly, of their voters than they are of the president, we may be at an impasse.